really going on with Epstein? Because Epstein was more than just a serial pedophile and a pervert. He was an incredibly powerful man who was, by the way, in multiple instances in the files that were just released, talking about his work for Mossad, talking about his work for the Rothschilds. I mean, it just goes on and on. And so can we discuss the blackmail operation that was taking place and which government that's a special ally of the United States put him up to it? And do we really want to be allies with a country that kidnaps young girls for rape just so they can have dirt on American politicians and control our foreign policy? Spoiler alert, the topic was changed promptly to Epstein's relationship with Russia, and we did not talk about the blackmail operation. But we will be talking about it here on this show. But before we do, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so as you're about to see, Israel is all over this files. But when we give you the information about what they wrote when they thought no one was looking, we'll then talk about 2 other things. One is, why is the entire national media covering it up when it is there's abundant evidence? At the very minimum, there should be a national conversation. Who did it, right? And then we could also talk about okay, if it turns out to be Israel, are there going to be any consequences? And that begins to give you a sense of why no one's talking about how it might be Israel, especially given what Drop Site News reported. And so don't forget that either. We'll add that to the end of the story.
Yeah, in fact, let me just briefly mention, we've been covering the insanely good reporting that Drop Site News has been doing in regard to Jeffrey Epstein's relationship with Israel, because it wasn't just a blackmail operation. He was also brokering international deals on behalf of Israel, right? Whether it was selling, spy software, cybersecurity software, creating ties between Israel and the UAE. We've talked about all of it, so there's that. But this notion of a blackmail operation, let's talk about that a little bit. So look, we know without a shadow of a doubt at this point that Jeffrey Epstein was in fact working for Mossad. Was he an agent himself or was he an asset? To me, it doesn't matter because it's clear in these documents, based on emails that he himself was writing, that he was working for Mossad and the Rothschild, by the way. He even says it clearly in one of the email exchanges. So included in the latest batch of the Epstein files is an FBI document that quotes a confidential human source who claimed that Epstein was an agent of the Mossad. Now, this CHS, confidential human source, was connected with Epstein through Epstein's lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, which we'll be talking about in a little bit as well. Now I'm gonna give you the excerpt from the actual FBI file and I'll read you the relevant parts. So confidential human source, CHS, learned that Dershowitz influenced many students from wealthy families. For example, Josh Kushner and Jared Kushner were both his students. Dershowitz told CHS that if he were young again, he would be holding a stun gun as an Israeli intelligence Mossad agent. Confidential human source believed Dershowitz was co-opted by Mossad and subscribed to their mission. CHS still continues to communicate occasionally for Dershowitz. Now, even more damning was the next excerpt I'm gonna read you from the FBI document that was part of the Epstein files. Let's take a look. Jeffrey Epstein was represented by Dershowitz. The confidential human source remembered Dershowitz tell Alex Acosta, the US attorney of Southern District of Florida at the time, that Epstein belonged to both US and allied intelligence services, meaning Mossad. CHS shared phone calls between Dershowitz and Epstein during which he/she took notes. After these calls, Mossad would then call Dershowitz to debrief. Epstein was close to the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, and trained as a spy under him. And the confidential human source also told the FBI, let's take a look at the next graphic, another excerpt from the FBI document. Trump has been compromised by Israel and Kushner is the real brains behind his organization and presidency. Now, before I give you more, I kind of want to stay on the topic of Dershowitz and what we've just read, right? Let's process it for a moment. I'll start with you, Cenk.
Yeah, so Dershowitz in all of his appearances says, I'll sue anyone that talks about me or any client of Jeffrey Epstein, and he constantly demands to know the names of the victims. He keeps saying, no, the one thing that you should redact the people who might have done it, but you shouldn't redact the names of the victims because he wants to sue them. So that's lawfare. And so he's threatened people over and over again. He threatens every show that talks about it. And he has a mysterious amount of money, I don't know from where, to apparently engage in all these lawsuits.
He sure does.
And so now this is a confidential human source. That means it is one person, and you take it with a grain of salt. And I would love to get all of this into a court of law. And I would love for all this evidence to come forward and for us to adjudicate this. Now, for the moment being, we don't have that. Why? Because Dershowitz and Epstein and everyone who covers up for them in the US government has prevented that from happening. There are no clients, the Trump team told us. Biden didn't do anything. He just drooled for 4 straight years. And every administration, there's nothing to see here, but 1,200 girls have been raped. But no one raped them other than Epstein and Maxwell. So now we have the stories of Dershowitz. Again, we're not saying they're true. We're telling you this is what's in the files reported by a confidential human source. Another where he watches Epstein.
What?
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Because I actually read verbatim what the Epstein files say about Dershowitz during my appearance on Piers Morgan's show today. And I had a question for both Eric Bolling, who was on the panel, and Piers Morgan about Dershowitz and whether or not they're interested in talking with him on their shows in the future. So without further ado, let's take a look at how that exchange went down. Anyone who mentions Dershowitz's relationship with Epstein, as I have done in the past, gets threatened by Dershowitz with a lawsuit. And I never retract my statements because I would love nothing more than to go through that discovery process. But in the files that were just released, there's an email that Norm Finkelstein sent out, essentially condemning Dershowitz because Jane Doe number 3 said this in sworn testimony. Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz was around Epstein frequently. Dershowitz was so comfortable with the sex that was going on that he would even come and chat with Epstein while I was giving oral sex to Epstein. So my question to everyone who has Dershowitz on as if he's some sort of expert who should be taken seriously, who has an opinion that should be valued in any way, will you please stop having that disgusting man on your show?
No,
I agree.
Anna, I won't. And no, hold on, guys. Hold on. I had him.
Piers Morgan never answered the question, but Eric Bolling, I mean, he couldn't wait to say, no, I'm definitely going to keep having Dershowitz. I hold his feet to the fire. Okay.
Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back. The person agreeing was Tara Palmieri. She's done some really good reporting on Epstein, and we've talked to her several times on this show as well. It's interesting that Bolling, I guess, still a company man, right? No. Protect the government, protect the deep state, protect beloved Israel. Fascinating, Eric. By the way, look, we're gonna give you more about these details. Back to the drop site news stories about how Epstein tried to procure cyber weapons for Israel. Aren't we done? Like, that's it. Like, is there someone who is not connected to a government and their intelligence agencies that tries to get cyber weapons for that government? Is that a thing that happens? Oh, I was a civilian. I was walking by a pizza shop and decided, look, there's people who I could buy cyber weapons from and give them to Israel. That's not a thing. So all of establishment media still ignoring this is insanity.
Cenk,
total insanity.
Cenk.
And so look, one last thing about that, Anna. Imagine if the story was Epstein tried to procure cyber weapons for China. Do you think we'd be talking about that nonstop? Of course, everybody would be like, China, our mortal enemy, China, has cyber weapons for Russia, Russia, or just a random country, Kenya. I imagine New York Times, CNN would be like, whoa, Kenya's all over the Epstein files. And it turns out he was trying to get cyber weapons for Kenya. He was trying to get America to bomb Kenya's neighbors on behalf of Kenya. Wow, what an amazing story. When it's Israel, shh.
No, there is a pattern when it comes to Israel, and we just need to call it like we see it, because it's the truth, okay? Israel provides safe harbor for Jewish Americans who happen to be pedophiles and they want to skirt prosecution. So Israel, bring them in, come on, we will provide safe harbor. Israeli government officials come to our country attempting to rape our girls, and our government lets them go. Tom Alexandrovich, whatever happened to that guy? Right, by the way, I looked into it just to see if there are any updates. The latest update on Tom Alexandrovich, who was caught in an FBI sting attempting to have sex with a 15-year-old girl, who was a decoy, by the way. Last time he was written about in US media was November of last year.
So they won't extradite him. We're not even asking them to extradite Alexandrovich. 8 Americans got caught with him in a sting. They are facing full consequences, which they should.
They should, absolutely.
Right, but Alexandrovich, because he's Israeli, faces no consequences. So, by the way, as I talked about on Tucker Carlson's show that came out on Friday, Israel has also murdered 9 Americans in the last 3 years. No accountability, zero. One of them was an American journalist, one of the most prominent journalists in the Middle East. When the Saudis did it, we still talk about it today, and we should. What a monstrous act it was to murder Jamal Khashoggi. Meanwhile, Shireen Abu Akleh, an American journalist, murdered, and everyone acknowledges it was an assassination from hundreds of yards away, a sniper shot to kill her, and our government doesn't even care. Doesn't even ask for justice, doesn't ask for an extradition. Who did it? They don't care because they work for Israel. And we're tired of soft pedaling it. No, Israel's totally above the law in America. This proves it over and over and over again. So let's give you more from the files.
So Ghislaine Maxwell was also accused of being a Mossad spy in this document dump, okay? And I mean, look, that should be the least surprising thing on the planet, given the fact that her father, Robert Maxwell, worked for Mossad. So in an email contained in the files, gentleman by the name of Mark V. Iverson, who had apparently had some contact with Ghislaine Maxwell, was told that she was an Israeli spy. Quote, "I was warned that she was a spy and to stay away from her," he said in one of the documents. Now, in the same email, by the way, and these are emails. So this is him writing what he has been warned about and what he knows about Ghislaine Maxwell. So let's take a look at this excerpt from his email where he writes, and this is the relevant part: "I suspect Robert, Ghislaine, and Jeffrey were all Mossad agents trying to blackmail leaders in the political and financial world." I mean, how much more do we need, honestly? Okay, how much more do we need? I'll give you more if you want it.
No, we're gonna give you more, but I talk to folks that largely consume legacy media today. So if you're online, especially if you watch Young Turks or some of the other shows that are revealing these things, or you're on X, you largely know a lot of these things. For people who are consuming legacy media, watching cable news, reading New York Times, etc., they have no idea who Ghislaine Maxwell's dad is, and that he was a legendary Israeli spy, that he stole Americans' nuclear secrets. Now, these are acknowledged facts, but if you tell people who watch television, they think you're a conspiracy theorist. They're like, oh, that sounds crazy. Ghislaine Maxwell, a potential spy for Israel. Her dad was their top spy ever? Oh, come on. You must be an anti-Semite. That's what legacy media told me. No, it's right here in the files. We didn't write the files. And they're saying, there's, again, over and over references to they worked for Mossad, they constantly helping Israel. So you could say, hey, they're all anecdotes, and I can't connect dots if my life depended on it. And then you could work for the New York Times then.
So also found was a December 2018 email exchange between former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and Jeffrey Epstein. So in it, this was really interesting. Let's take a look at this graphic. So Barak asks Epstein if he's going to be in London on Thursday, and Epstein says no, and quote, "You should make clear that I don't work for Mossad," with a smiley face. He included a smiley face on that. And then Barak later responded with, first he's like, wait, me or you? Like, should I say that I don't work for Mossad or you don't work for Mossad? And then Epstein responds with me. And then Barak responds with like a winky emoji, like basically like, yeah, I'll tell them you don't work for Mossad. Finally,
it's just absurd. Look, here's what gives lie to legacy media, saying, well, I mean, it's not perfectly verified, so we're not gonna report on it at all.
No, it's verified.
But wait a minute. They found one reference to Russia That was instantly in the papers.
I know.
Russia, we found, wait, I thought you said you weren't gonna publish anything because it wasn't verified. When it's about Russia, you immediately publish it. When you have 200 references to Israel, not verified. Sure. Whatever gets you through the night, man. So everyone who works at the New York Times and everyone who works at CNN obviously works for Israel. And there's not one journalist in the whole group, not one in all of national media. You can't see all this. You didn't read the drop site news stories? You didn't see where Epstein says in his emails, I would like America to bomb Syria on behalf of Israel. I would like America to bomb Iran on behalf of Israel. No, you saw it and you buried it because you don't cover the news, you cover up the news. Keep going, Anna.
Final thing I'll mention, and to me, this isn't the smoking gun that people are kind of treating it as, but I'm curious what you think, Cenk. It has to do with ISIS, right? So ISIS is an offshoot of Al Qaeda. We are now very friendly with Al Qaeda, apparently, because a former Al Qaeda leader is now the leader of Syria. And the US, more importantly, Israel wanted the ouster of Bashar al-Assad. They wanted someone friendlier to Israel in place. Now, in an email exchange between Jeffrey Epstein and Tom Pritzker, something really interesting comes up because Jeffrey Epstein talks about what the US allowed ISIS to do in Syria. So let's get to it. He says, Turkey gives Nusra, al-Nusra, which is, by the way, an offshoot of Al-Qaeda, a heads up on Iraqi recruits, slaughter. Russia gives Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, a heads up on coup. US gives a pass on ISIS to Palmyra, which is an ancient city in Syria. So that's the relevant part. Why? Why would the US give a pass to ISIS? I thought we wanted to defeat and beat ISIS. Why hasn't ISIS ever attempted to attack Israel? Not that I want them to, but isn't that kind of interesting?
It is weird how they have attacked all of the Arab states, and the most Muslim fundamentalist terrorist group in the world thinks Israel's A-okay and never attacks them.
Weird.
Things that make you go, So look, is ISIS engineered by Israel? I don't know. This is.
I would bet money on it, but we don't have the smoking gun.
So what we're sharing with you is the information we do know. These are in the files. Have they been confirmed? But the problem is, guys, when you go to confirm it, who's going to confirm it? The CIA? The same people? It says US, not Israel in that case. US gives a pass on ISIS. So what are we gonna go to the CIA who gave them a pass the first? Hey, are you guys working with ISIS? And are we gonna get an honest answer? Are we gonna get an honest answer from a Republican administration or a Democratic administration? No, we know the answer definitively, no. We will never get an honest answer for them. So as journalists, your job is to dig in, right? Follow the money, follow the clues, connect the dots. But our national media goes, no, under no circumstances will we do that if it implicates the CIA or Mossad. Never. We are going to be lapdogs for them. And on top of that, up until now, so we'll see how they react now that this batch of Epstein files have been released. So far, still zip it, no, never mention Israel. But in the past, they would go an extra mile. If anyone mentioned Israel, then the New York Times would get riled up and say, all right, let's go find some way to character assassinate that person. Someone on the right said it, someone on the left said it. Let's call them an anti-Semite. Let's try to ruin their lives because we're journalists. No, you're not. No, you're not. None of these people are journalists. So we have no journalists in the national media. Not one talking about Israel. Not one has the courage to mention the dozens and dozens and dozens of times Israel is mentioned, okay? And we don't have anyone in government we can trust. And they don't understand that the rage is going to build. You think you're just gonna do that to the American people? And they're just gonna be like, oh, sure, yes, mainstream media, yes, US government, yes, CIA. Do whatever you like, sir. Rape our daughters, take their kids, do whatever you want. Of course Israel is above the law. Of course, we're so sorry. You think America bows like that?
We've been bowing.
Well, we're gonna find out. Our politicians aren't America. Our politicians are scum of the earth. They're the worst of us. And our stupid lying media telling us they're the best of us, that they're honorable, they're having debates. No, they're cashing checks and selling us out. On the Democrat, so the Republicans, you deal with your own house, and thank God for Tom Massey. On the Democratic side, We got one guy, Ro Khanna, calling all this stuff out. He's the one that worked to get these files released. By the way, everyone on the Democratic side, Ro Khanna almost single-handedly got these files released on the Democratic side, working with Massey on the right wing. I mean, he's the only one that's functioning in Congress. What is everyone else doing? What are all the Democrats doing? I'll tell you what Chuck Schumer did over the weekend.
That's what they're doing.
What are they doing?
Smelling their own farts. That's what they're doing.
They're just useless, useless. And I mean just about every Democrat outside of Ro Khanna. And so, you know what they did this weekend? The leader of the Democrats in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, he gave a speech about how we have to give more money to Israel. He gave a speech about, I will get Israel every dollar that it needs, beloved Israel. Who was he giving the speech to? Donors who are gonna give him more money and who are gonna bribe more congressmen. But as they give money to 94% of Congress, not one reporter in corporate media can figure out, gee, I wonder what's happening in Congress. Oh, they're only giving to 94%. You're not allowed to mention that fact. You should all be humiliated and you should all retire immediately if you're pretending to be a journalist in establishment media. None of you are journalists, not one of you. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.